Hello, everyone. Welcome to Run, Walk, Talk, Tales of Inclusion and Development. I'm Steph. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm here with Judy, and her pronouns are she and her. And today we're going to talk about my experience I had at a W North conference in London a few weeks ago.
I'm really excited to hear about the conference, Steph. And you and I, we have not talked about it. We avoided talking about it on our last run together so we could dig
Yeah.
into it today. Why don't you give us an overview about what this conference was and yeah, just tell us generally. How was it?
Yeah. Yeah, so this was a partnership with W North and the UK Chamber of Commerce and Virgin Unite. I will say it didn't feel like a traditional conference. It really was, um, carefully curated content
Mm,
that was really refreshing. The
mm-hmm.
first night, so it was, a 3-day conference, but really started the first evening was a social event where, we had delegates from Canada go to the UK. There was about 14 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this beautiful 6-course meal on a moving bus looking at
Oh,
the
wow.
beautiful sights in London.
Okay.
The company's called Bastronomy, and it was gorgeous. The food was delicious. The sights were great. It was wonderful to kind of connect with the women
Mm-hmm.
before we actually went in to the actual conference.
So this is just the other
So
folks you traveled with from Canada.
that's right. Well, and I will
Okay.
say there wasn't just Canadian participation. There was also, we had someone from San Francisco, New
Oh,
York.
okay. So North
Um,
America, you're
yeah,
all on the bus
yeah.
together, getting to know one another.
Yeah, and W North also has a chapter in London as well. So we had a
Hmm.
few women from London as well, which was great.
Okay.
So then we get into the second day. So this was at the Canada House in London, and as I mentioned, this was sort of a Canada UK Chamber of Commerce
Hmm.
partnership. And really the day was focused on partnerships,
Hmm.
amplifying strategic impact, leading through change, and really discussing. And I like this piece around our planet and learning about planetary guardians. So I don't know if you've heard of what the Planetary Guardians
Mm-mm.
is.
Hmm.
So it's a global network of influential leaders who are committed to protecting the planet by championing climate action, justice, and systems change at the highest level. So to give you an example, Jane Goodall was on the list. David Suzuki is on the list. This session was really talking about, and almost, I will say, when we do talk a lot about climate, it does feel
Hmm.
very like it's all bad. And this
Hmm.
session was a really kind of, there is hope. Yes, there is lots that we need to do, and we need to be careful, and we need to be thinking about this, but there is hope, which I feel like that sort of motivates people, right?
Oh, for sure. So kind of for community, we can still come together and here's the things we need to do to make a change. Okay.
That's right. And then the third day was at Virgin Unite. And Virgin Unite is a nonprofit foundation of the Virgin Group, with Richard Branson,
Hmm. Hmm.
really focused on tackling global social and environmental challenges by bringing people together, ideas, and resources for positive change.
Hmm.
The third day really was focused on that culture piece. We heard from Nikki Humphrey, the Chief People Officer of Virgin Unite. We talked about AI because I feel like every sort of, you know,
You have
uh,
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
must, right? And about playing the long game. And then at the end of the day, we had a tour of the studios. So this building
Hmm.
was where the actual Spice Girls recorded,
Oh, wow.
and Boy George. So
Okay.
to not want to sing come a chameleon, like that was, I held back. I held back. So it really was, I mean, the 3 days overall was really focused on that connection, having the sort of the big conversation and really talking about gender, equality because, W North is a women's networking
Hmm.
organization. Why I went also was the fact that it was in London.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, being previously in a large global organization
Mm-hmm.
that got to sort of travel to different offices, you don't realize how much you miss it, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get to sort of understand how other people are living, different
Mm-hmm.
cultures, different
Mm-hmm.
mindsets, different
Mm-hmm.
attitudes, which is really, I find very, very powerful and interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to go to London, I was really curious to see sort of what was that global kind of perspective. And I know London is just, one place, but we have people coming from all over to have the
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So um, the reality is, I think in some situations, what we see in North America is what we sort of see in Europe when it comes to gender. So there was a lot of talk
Mm-hmm.
about um, getting women on boards and focusing on women on boards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There was discussion around women, getting into politics. And so, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And learning from others and kind of playing that long game. There was, I mean, on the third day at Virgin Unite, Nikki Humphrey, when we were talking about, what does culture look like, she shared a really interesting example where she gathered feedback from employees around benefits, about their benefits package. So they were looking to renew or change or add to their benefits. And instead of them sort of deciding what that would be, they literally sort of sent out a poll saying, hey, here's full transparency. This is how much money we have. This is usage on the different benefits.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're thinking. Would you like, A, B, or C? And so then, the employees got to decide in a way.
Mm-hmm.
They're more engaged, which, and
Of
I,
course.
for you and I, when we talk about engagement, we're like, how amazing to sort of put that power and autonomy back into the employee's hands,
Mm-hmm.
especially because HR is sometimes not seen as being, innovative and friendly. And people only go to HR when there's sort of things are really tough or aren't working in the
Mm-hmm.
organization,
Mm-hmm.
typically, sometimes, right? So that session really, and that example there really made me think about um, how I could, like, what are some things I could be getting employee feedback on? So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well, and I particularly love, and I think it's key in what you described. Like, I think sometimes people are nervous about going to their employee group to get that sort of feedback because there's this concern that, well, my goodness, they're going to go really big.
that's
And the
right.
key piece is she shared, this is the bucket of money we have to spend. So she's setting parameters
That's
around
right.
that. And I
Yes,
think that's so important because I think sometimes, for myself in L&D, I'm like, oh my gosh, well, of course, everybody wants in-person instructor-led learning.
of
That's
course.
the, but the reality is, do we have capacity to deliver on that? So
Yeah,
I like this notion of you're setting those parameters.
yeah,
This is what we can offer, and what would work best for you within that parameter that I'm presenting. So yeah, I can see that being a really impactful session.
yeah. That's great.
So I guess thinking about you were there for 3 days, and I'm sure it went by very, very quickly. Is
Yeah.
there one belief or behavior that you came away with that you're compelled to sort of rethink in terms of the way that you're leading?
So May Bush did a session on the caretaker to rainmaker framework, which I will also, because I can't, anytime I can talk about a book, right?
Yeah.
So Visible, I highly recommend this book. It's how to
Okay.
advance your career without playing politics, selling your
Mm.
soul, or working yourself into the ground.
Oh my goodness. I think we need to do a podcast on this book alone.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. So she talks about, and so I really sort of took away this idea of this caretaker. And just so you know, the caretaker is this employee. They've got, high standards, very much can get things done. They execute
Mhm.
brilliantly. They keep things running smoothly. And then you have the rainmaker, and the rainmaker creates new value beyond sort of assigned responsibilities.
Mhm.
And she gives these sort of strategies, like they spot opportunities, they fix inefficiencies,
Mhm.
they integrate, and they sort of bring the organization into the future. So we did an exercise of like, how much time are you spending in caretaker versus rainmaker? So
Mhm.
that for sure was one thing I took away. The
Mhm.
second thing I took away is you can't you can't put um like the feeling of being in person is so crucial and important. The
Mhm.
opportunity for me, and I know I feel very grateful and a lot of
Mhm.
privilege to be able to buy a ticket and go to London and be
Mhm.
able to. And I have family at home that can take care of other things. So I don't ever take that for granted.
Mhm.
But that being in community with other women, that I met some really wonderful, that I would consider friends, that I get to foster this awesome, relationship, and making friends at an,
Mhm.
I'll just say, when you're sort of senior in your career, having the time to make friends later in life, it does seem harder
Mhm. Mhm.
sometimes. And this was
Mhm.
really wonderful to be able to do that.
Well, it sounds like you had a great experience, and thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
and acknowledging that. Yeah, it was something very, very special that you were able to go and spend that time in London. It sounds like that you made some wonderful connections. And I think
Yeah.
for myself, a couple of things coming out of it. I love that story that you shared again about engagement and being very transparent and setting the parameters.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm excited because now I've got a new book to add to my reading list. And I do think we should do,
Hmm.
after we both had a chance. I'm not sure if you've read it yet or if you're partway through it, but I think it sounds like a great book and I'd love to do a podcast on it. So, with that said, thanks, Steph, and we'll see everybody again soon. Take care.
Thanks.